guys, shalom. Welcome to Let's Get Deep Bible Study. Tonight we will be going over Exodus 16. Last week we covered Genesis 1 through 2 to kind of get a foundation of understanding what is the seventh day, why is it holy, why is it set apart, because tonight we're going to go into Exodus and Yahuwah is teaching Israel fresh out of Egypt. He's teaching them again about the seventh day, about keeping it holy, about resting, about trusting him. About the completion of being in him. And so without further ado, verse 1. The whole Israelite community set out from Elam and came to the desert of Sin, which is between Elam and Sinai. On the 15th day of the second month, after they had come out of Egypt, in the desert, the whole community grumbled against Moses and Aaron. The Israelites said to them, "If only we had died by Yahuwah's hand in Egypt. There we sat around pots of meat and ate all the food we wanted. But you have brought us out into this desert to starve this entire assembly to death." Pause. Okay, so a lot of us are just like, oh my gosh, here they go again complaining. Because literally a couple of weeks ago, we talked about when they first exited out of Egypt, before they even crossed the Red Sea, they were just like, we're going to die. Like, we're going to face war. And Yahuwah already said if they face too much war, then they're going to want to go back. And here we have them literally, this is probably maybe the third time they've already talked about wanting to go back to Egypt. And it's an unfortunate reality that we're seeing. But I want to break down the word grumbling because it's very interesting, because grumbling and the word abide literally almost mean the same thing, except for like a posture of heart. So the word grumbling in Hebrew means to stay permanently, like in a bad sense, to be obstinate, to dwell, to endure, and to tarry, but in a negative manner. So grumbling is literally complaining with no desire to see a way forward. So when you're grumbling, you are literally refusing to see hope. You're refusing to see that he is faithful. So like rewiring our understanding, like grumbling is not just complaining. When you grumble or when you murmur, it easily becomes you speaking and believing a false report. And I was like, dang, wow. Because later on we're gonna get into like they went into the land to spy it out and they came back with a false report. They came back with a bad report, because the bad report was not that there were giants in the land. The bad report was that you don't believe that we can conquer the giants in the land. It was the grumbling and the false report are both attached to not believing that Yah is going to sustain you, that Yah is going to give you victory. And so it says we had all we wanted to eat. And so in that word breaks down to being like to be filled, to be satiated, fullness, to have access. And so as we keep reading, we're going to see that Yahuwah is teaching them to go from having this access to trusting him day by day, which is why I put on the notes where it says in Matthew 6:25-34. I'm not going to read all of it, but the clip note version is to do not worry about tomorrow. Also in Luke 11:3, like give us day by day our daily bread. We pray that in the Father, in the Father's prayer all the time. Give us this day our daily bread. Where is this concept of daily bread coming from? It's coming from this lesson of Exodus 16. It's coming by you go out each day and you gather. Don't worry about tomorrow. Don't try to store up too much about the next day. Give us today our daily need. But we're so used to being in Egypt and having access and having overflow and having a safety net and a backup home and a storage supply that he's telling you to come out and just trust him day by day and that he got you. That's a hard shift of mindset. And so, yes, it's easy for us to look at them and be like, they crazy. I cannot believe that they was complaining like that. But imagine going from your luscious house and having pots of meat everywhere to literally just looking around and not seeing anything. And you just have to believe, one, he's shown that he is capable of leading you, of guiding you, of protecting you, of sustaining you, of giving you victory. But you're not seeing anything. And so then you start to believe the false report. You start to think that maybe Yah's really not true to his word. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago where I was just like, we read the scripture that says like, I've never seen the righteous begging bread. And I was just like, sometimes I feel like I'm begging. That's that's connected to a grumbling spirit or a complaining spirit or a murmuring. Like his word said, you don't have to beg, but you're not resting, you're not dwelling in the trust. So you feel like because you have to be active all the time that you need to do things. And now you feel like you're begging because you don't have a surplus. And y'all's like, you don't need to have a surplus. You just need to have today. That's a unlearning and relearning process that doesn't happen overnight. It happens as you continue to operate in the Shabbat covenant. It happens as you continue to walk in trusting him in the day by day. We're so used to having backup plans. We're so used to having surplus. And y'all saying, I know you're used to having access. You ate all that you wanted. You never had to think about having enough for tomorrow because you saw tomorrow, next week, last month, or next month. You had 6 months supply worth of food in your visible sight. And now I'm asking you to trust me day by day. But you want to go back to Egypt because at least you could see your provision years ahead of time. That's a hard shift, if we're being honest. And so, again, giving my ancestors grace, giving yourself grace in the sense of, I need you to understand that you're reading it and we turn our nose up so fast at our ancestors for being like, oh, no, we want to go back. They were used to seeing their cabinets full of food and not having to worry about if they were going to be able to feed their kids the next day. And now they're being like, am I going to feed my kids the next day? But Yah's spirit is saying, I'm going to sustain you day by day. So we're setting the blueprint for understanding Sabbath, understanding why Yahuwah is teaching us Sabbath rest. It's about regulating your anxiety. It's about regulating your nervousness, your thoughts of doubt. It's deeper than just not doing anything. It's deeper than just saying, I trust him. It's literally causing your flesh to say, shut up, anxiety, shut up, doubt. I know it looks like I have nothing. I'm not going to be anxious because he says he got me today and he's going to have me tomorrow. But I just need to focus on today.
It was Proverbs how to operate in faith.
Yes. Operating in faith. And what does faith actually look like in the active pursuit of it? And so Proverbs 38, I don't have the whole verse here if someone wants to read it, but the last part just says like, feed me with food convenient for me. I think the last part is like, don't give me too much and don't give me too little, but just give me what's convenient for me. But sometimes we want more than convenience. We're like, oh, prosperity abundance flowing with milk and honey. You don't even know how to be content. It was convenient for you at the moment. And you're already, what Terry say, naming it, claiming it, blessings, prosperity, overflow, wealth. And you're just like, you wouldn't even know how to handle that because when it gets taken away, you wouldn't even know how to abide in the day by the day.
And they're in a space where they have to unlearn so much stuff. Like when you talk about giving the ancestors grace, while they were in Egypt, they didn't have stories about how their ancestors left an oppressed or cursed situation and made it out and rebuild. So now they can't see what's for tomorrow, because they haven't been exposed to that yet, although they've seen signs and miracles. Mm-hmm. But the retraining of the mind. And I mean, I don't know if y'all have ever been around like a chronic complainer or somebody like that stuff be heavy. You be like, God, dog, like, can you wake up and be thankful for, but just like a couple of them, imagine how much that spreads. Because even though they're saying they want to go back to what's plenty, you don't want to do nothing new. You don't know, like he's telling you, I'm trying to bring you so you can rebuild away from idolatrous stuff, right? But yet, like, they don't see that because it looked like it's going to be hard. But they don't have their 2 generations back telling them, oh, yeah, we did this before. This will be nothing. Like, all you got to do is trust. All you got to do. So it's that breaking their mental down, their mind, like they don't know. But for me, too, like, all of a sudden, you cry one day and you just want to die. Like, I don't know. I just want to die. Like, I'm like, that's. So then, too, it's like we were talking about the gym last week, right? How you have to live to build up your strength and resistance and all that. So now they got to go through this process in order to build up their mental, because it's all new. So it's not just as far as like feeding your belly, it's renewing the mind. It's feeding them all on a new thing because they don't have those stories. They do have, you know, situation where like, wow, he parted the borders, you know, like, yes, but they'll run back to bondage and control, and because that was just what was easy. So it's a change in that mental.
Yeah. And I think the reason why sometimes we get so like, oh, I can't believe they said that, is because they literally just saw him part the Red Sea. They literally just saw him have a pillar of fire and a cloud by day. They saw all the plagues be manifested for their deliverance. They just sang this song of how great Yah is. But then, you know, when things got tough, like Taryn was saying, like that mental strength, that mental fortitude of resisting, it's just like, again, so easy to forget how much he already brought you through. When you can't see provision, we're so quick to be like, oh, we about to die. Oh no, we're gonna die, you know? And so it's just really, I don't want to call it the humanity of it all, because when people say like, look at the humanity of it, I think it's kind of like a way of saying like, oh, look at how flawed people are. But like, yeah, that's true. But like, Yah's calling us to a higher standard, so we can see it and recognize that stuff in ourselves, but not try to give a pass for it. In the sense of like, I see that, I recognize that, Father. I don't want to respond like that all the time. So teach me to abide in you. Verse 4. Then Yahuwah said to Moses, I will rain down bread from heaven for you. The people are to go out each day and gather enough for that day. In this way, I will test them or prove them to see whether they will follow my Torah, my instruction. That word instruction breaks down to Torah. Whether they will follow my Torah. On the 6th day, they are to prepare what they bring in, and that is to be twice as much as they gathered on the other days. So again, Yah is slowly giving commandments. He's slowly giving them Torah. He's slowly giving them instruction. Because again, they haven't even received all the commandments yet. There hasn't, like, this hasn't happened yet. He is slowly introducing them into keeping commandments, into trusting him, into abiding, into following him. And he's literally, first set of commandments we're seeing, gather enough just for that day. And he's doing it to see. He's doing it to see, to prove, to sift out, to see like what's going on with their heart posture. Are they going to follow me? And so the word test in Hebrew is literally to test, by attempt to prove, to examine basically what's going on there. So Moses and Aaron said to all the Israelites, in the evening, you will know that it was Yahuwah who brought you out of Egypt. Why is he doing this? So you're going to know that it's him. Again, everything that he's doing is to show and to prove to you that it is him, that it's Yahuwah that's doing this. It's the Elohim of Israel that is doing this for you. So Moses and Aaron said to the Israelites, in the evening, you will know that it was Yahuwah who brought you out of Egypt. And in the morning, you will see the glory of Yahuwah, because he has heard your grumbling against him. Yahuwah didn't chastise them for grumbling. But Moses is reiterating, you're going to know that it's Yah that's doing this because he heard you. He heard your complaints. He heard that you didn't believe his report. He heard that you don't trust that there's a way forward. He heard that you don't think that he's a provider. So he's going to show up and prove to you that he's a provider. How beautiful is that? That we have a father, like I said, we got a good father that gives good gifts. He's not here shaming them because they don't believe, because again, he knows that they're like children, like toddlers coming out of a situation. And they have, like Taryn was saying, this is a people that still has an Egyptian mindset. We are still a people that still have a Babylonian, American, Christian mindset. And Yah saying, I'm going to be patient with you. Back to that Genesis, that hovering love, that gentle, like a mother brooding over you to prepare you for separation, for set apartness, for identity. That's what he's doing here. We're literally just seeing Yah's character of Genesis 1, the hovering of his spirit, that loving, tender nature in this moment as they're complaining. Israel, us, we are literally like the darkness in Genesis, except for we're not just simply listening and obeying. we grumble back. We murmur back. We talk back. And Yah's like, but I still love you and I'm still hovering in your midst. And I'm not even going to bring up the fact that you don't believe me. I'm going to say, I heard your grumblings. I heard your complaints. I heard that you don't really trust me or believe what I'm saying. So I'm going to do this so you know that I heard you and I care about you and I'm going to feed you. That's beautiful. That's soft. That's compassion. That's the comforter. And it's right here.
That's real good. I mean, because, we got to realize how long they was in Egypt. They forgot. He said that they would forget, where they came from, what they had been through as a people. They forgot, and this is just like, I think we kind of gloss over that. We don't realize you out here in Babylon for so long. You've been doing things for so long. You know what I'm saying? You forget your identity. They didn't know who they were in Yahuwah anymore. They had taken on all the customs, all the stuff that he told them not to do. They had completely been, consumed in it for, I think somebody put in the comments 400 years or something. They had been sitting there for a good long time, in that situation. And now they was like, yeah, we heard them stories. Yeah, we heard the, murmurings and all that stuff about what happened back in the day. But is there really a Elohim? You know what I'm saying? We've been sitting over here in Egypt for a long time. And he's so gracious in that he was gently building them, allowing their faith to be built up. He was gently allowing them to see, yes, I am who, these stories that you heard about of old, that's who I am, and that's why he was that pillar of fire, you know what I'm saying? And the cloud and all that. He did all these miraculous things because they had forgotten. And he's showing these grandiose ways of showing them, because he really had to break them to get their mind and their hearts renewed of who they really are and who he was to them. Isha, you had something? She got her hand raised.
Go ahead.
Yes. So Taryn and Samaria together brought out something that I have never ever thought about. And I just would like to say, in addition to what you just said, is that this is the story of our lives, and that's how you know who Yah's people are, because for the longest I've always just couldn't understand, like, why is it that we don't know our history? Like, we don't know our history like three great grandmothers ago. Like, there's some nations that got like files on their family. They know who their grandmother, their grandfather was. They can go and pull that information up. And the majority of us, it's like, we just like, I don't know where my great grandmother came from. I don't know where my great grandfather came from, right? And I was like, always like trying to understand, like, what was that, Father? Yeah. Like, why is it that we can't even know enough about our grandparents? And why did we have like this that we didn't share with the generations to come? Because it seemed like other nations were able to do it, right? But now this kind of brings it all into perspective. And I heard something that I never heard before listening to you all talk today, that Yah, he allows that, and it sounds like a lot of the reason why he allows it, because he wants a pureness from us. He don't want the garbage of old. Like, he wants us to be like, hey, I'm your redeemer, I'm your father, you are my chosen people, you are my vessel. So everything that I say, I want you to hear that, and I don't want you to take anything with you. I want you to believe in me wholly, and I don't want you to take your traditions from your grandmother and your great grandparents. And if you get that, I will reveal everything unto you. So with all of that being said, y'all, I just think that there is another need for prayer on behalf of us as a people. And what I mean by us as a people, I'm talking about Yah's children, right? That Yah continues to build that trust in us, and that we desire it, and to ask for that and to seek for that, because I think we're so consumed with a lot of other things that we got going on every single day that we forget to ask, Father, Yah, I need you to restore that relationship with us on behalf of my ancestors, because we've done it. And I know we ask from time to time, depending on who it is we're talking to. Samari, I know we've had that conversation. Tanya, we've had a conversation, you know what I mean? But what I'm saying is that we have to just continue to ensure that that's rejuvenated in our spirits and in our mouth and in our tongue, so that we continue to speak that, so that Yah can reveal what it is that he desires for us to have, so that we can have those jokes and all that other stuff broken from us and live in that complete freedom and love.
Yeah. I think it's also like you were saying, Aisha. I see it also. One, obviously, is confirming prophecy about the scattered children. He said that you're going to forget who you were in the land of your captivity, all some things like. But in the latter days, you will bethink yourselves in the land of your captivity, and you will return to me. In the beauty of, I know it sounds kind of callous and cold, but like the beauty of being his lost children, you know, in the sense of like we were lost to him, like we lost ourselves, but he never lost us, right? And so when we start to bethink ourselves in the land of our captivity, we can't trace back our ancestry. When we said it's like all those are supposed to be markers that you're my people and that all of this happened because of the culture, the traditions that your ancestors did in sin, and that's the reason why y'all forgot in the first place. And so he's like, they're not good for you to look at anyway. You need to look back at what they was doing and what they was doing 30, 50, 100 years ago, because they were living in the consequences, the curses of breaking Yah's covenant. And so the beauty is just like, okay, it's supposed to identify who you are, but it's not for you to go back and pick up what they're doing. It's to identify who you are so you can go back and be like, well, what did Yah say to do? Because clearly I forgot him. My parents, my grandparents forgot him. They didn't know him until they didn't even know who they were. So let me get my identity back by going straight to the source, cutting out every middleman, cutting out every elder. Because I didn't need to follow what they was doing anyway. I need to do what he said to do. And that's literally, it's like you said, Aisha, this is the story of our people. I know what you learned. I know what you learned when you was over there. And yeah, they had stories of Elohim and how he was good and wading in the water and singing Kumbaya. That's cool and all. Those are good little markers, but like they still didn't know. They still didn't know who they were and who Yah was, just like Israel. They knew that they were Israelites. They knew that they served the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They knew that that's who they were connected to, but they didn't fully understand because they weren't actually fully walking with him until this moment here, until the deliverer came by the manifestation of Moses, how Yah used him to pull them out. But there was still a learning process of learning who you are in him, because you forgot because there was so much mixture in what you grew up in. Go ahead, Octavius.
I just wanted to read the scripture. Listening to you guys, it reminded me of Jeremiah. I love Jeremiah. Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 19. It says, "Thy own wickedness shall correct thee, and thy backsliding shall reprove thee. Know therefore and see that it is an evil thing and bitter that thou hast forsaken Yahuwah thy Elohim, and that my fear is not in thee, saith Yahuwah of the hosts. For of old time I have broken thy yoke and burst thy bands, and thou saidest, I will not transgress. When upon every high hill and under every green tree thou wanderest, playing the harlot."
Yep. It's that repetition. Oh, Octavius, can you type the scripture in the chat, please, if you can, for the ladies who want to go back and read it.
Okay.
But yeah, so literally it's a generational pattern, unfortunately. But fortunately, it like she was reading, it's when you realize that you're backslid, when you realize that you have gone a ways backwards, the realization is supposed to lead you back to covenant, you know. And so where was that verse? I'm going to pick up at verse, I didn't finish verse 7. He said he heard our grumblings against him. And then Moses said, who are we that you should grumble against us? So basically, they're just like, you're not, again, like we talked about earlier, them saying, who are we? They're saying like, it's not us that you're grumbling against. Again, letting them know you're grumbling, you're murmuring, you're doubting, you're saying that you're doubting us. Like we talked about earlier, we didn't get it recorded. What we were fellowshipping over in the beginning was that when people come against the testimony of what Yah has done in you, and the complaining and them trying to basically reject the spirit of transformation that Yah has done in you, you literally respond like Moses and Aaron, who are we? Who am I? It's not me that you're grumbling against. It's not me that you're complaining about. It's not me that you're talking about. It's not me that you're looking down on. You grumbling against the Most High. You're doubting the Most High. And so I got a couple of scriptures on here. 1 Samuel 8:7. For it is not you that they have rejected, but it is me that they have rejected. Same thing that's going on with Moses and Aaron already. John 13:16, Yahushua saying, verily, verily, I say unto you, the servant is not greater than his master, neither is he that is sent greater than he that sent him. Same sentiment. If they're rejecting Yah's spirit here, they're going to reject Yah's spirit later and over and over and over again, all throughout. Because right now we're just in Exodus, right? We know obviously later, as Octavius read, in Jeremiah and Isaiah and Ezekiel and Malachi and Amos and Hosea, all the prophets are literally just like, y'all don't want to hear, y'all upset with me, but it's not me. Who am I? I'm just the vessel. Who are we? You're not grumbling against me. You're not upset with me. You're grumbling against the Father. That's what you're grumbling is. That's what you're complaining against. When you say that his word is too hard, when you say that you don't want to gather enough for just today and do double, when you're saying you don't want to do all that, you're not complaining. You're not rejecting my words, because I'm just telling you what Yah said. Moses also said, verse 8, Moses also said, you will know that it was Yahuwah when he gives you meat to eat in the evening and all the bread you want in the morning, because he has heard your grumbling against him. Said that twice. He said, I heard you, I heard you. And he says, who are we? You are not grumbling against us, but against Yahuwah. So he's reiterating that multiple times. Like, who are we that you should grumble against us? Who are we? You're not grumbling against us because you're grumbling against the Father. So that's just reiterating everything we said earlier today. Earlier in the Bible study lesson. Verse 9. Then Moses said to Aaron, say to the entire Israel community, come before Yahuwah, for he has heard your grumblings. Again, he didn't say it like 4 times. I have heard your grumblings, he said. While Aaron was speaking to the whole Israelite community, they looked toward the desert, and there was the glory of Yahuwah appearing in the cloud. Yahuwah said to Moses, I have heard the grumbling of the Israelites. That's what, 6 times? I have heard. I hear you. I hear you. This makes me think of y'all. It's like, I hear your groanings. I hear your complaints. I hear your worries. I hear your concerns. I know. I know. He's saying, I hear it again. I have heard the grumblings of the Israelites. Tell them, at twilight you will eat meat, and in the morning you will be filled with bread. Then you will know that I am Yahuwah, your Elohim. So he's not just doing it in a whim. He's literally walking them through how it's going to happen. He's giving them the play-by-play and how it's going to unfold. And before he did it all, again, that hovering, he hovering in the midst of their grumbling. He sent the cloud of his glory so they can be like, he's here. He's like, I hear you. I hear you. Can you see me? I see you. I hear you. I recognize you. I see what's going on. He's literally saying, I don't want you to think that I don't hear you, because he keeps saying, I heard your grumbling like 6 or 7 times. He keeps repeating it. Literally, Sister Hulda, she said, like, literally, Yah is treating, like he keeps saying, this is a baby Israel. This is fresh out of Egypt. It's like talking to a toddler. It's like the analogy of you're fixing your kids' food and they're standing right by your kneecap, tugging on your shirt, being like, is the food ready yet? I'm hungry. I'm hungry. I'm hungry. Is it done? Is it done? And you're sitting there preparing it. You're making it. They see that you're making it. They know that you hear them. It's like, I hear you, baby. Yes, it's coming. I hear you. It's coming. That's literally the picture of Yah, like walking Israel through, telling them, you're not going to be starving. You're not starving. I got food for you. I have meat for you. I'm literally here, the cloud of glory. You can see me. You can feel my presence. I'm telling you, I see you. And let me tell you how it's going to happen. I know for me, when I was nanny, when I would have like 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds really just hungry, acting like they couldn't like wait for 5 minutes while I made their sandwiches or made their snacks, I would literally talk to them I would tell them what I was doing so they could know that, like, hey, it's getting done. I would be like, okay, I'm cutting up your strawberries. All right, now I'm gonna put some peanuts on the plate over here. Okay, now I'm gonna get some guacamole and put it in the tray right here. You want these chips? Okay, I'm gonna put these chips on the tray. Okay, I'm taking it to the table now. Like literally every single step. Yes, reassurance of every single step, because I don't want you to think that I don't hear you, because I know that you're young, you're immature, you can't understand the concept of time. They say something about kids don't understand time or the concept of time. So when a baby is literally screaming that they're hungry for their bottle, even though you're just like, dang, like give me a minute, in their mind they're like, they don't get it now, they feel like they're never gonna get it. And that's why the reaction is so visceral. It's like, I'm starving. If I don't eat, I'm going to die. But it's like, it takes me 5 minutes to prepare your bottle, but 5 minutes to a child who does not understand the concept of time could be eternity. And there's no regulation of, I just have to wait.
Come in. Come in.
Go ahead. You was trying to say something?
Sorry.
Oh, okay. She just had her mic on. But yeah, so literally reassurance. Like y'all is constantly walking me through reassurance. He said, then you will know. Again, doing all this so they can know him. Being all of this so they can yada. I need you to know, to understand, to perceive, to be intimate with the fact that I am Yahuwah, your Elohim. I'm doing all this so that you can know me. He's trying to build intimate relationship with Israel in this moment. Okay. That evening, quail came and covered the camp. And in the morning, there was a layer of dew around the camp. When the dew was gone, thin flakes like frost on the ground appeared on the desert floor. When the Israelites saw it, they said to each other, "What is it?" For they did not know what it was. Moses said to them, "It is bread Yahuwah has given you to eat. This is what Yahuwah has commanded. Everyone is to gather as much as they need. Take an omer for each person you have in your tent." The Israelites did as they were told. Some gathered much, some little. And when they measured it by the omer, the one who gathered much did not have too much, and the one who gathered little did not have too little. Everyone gathered just as much as they needed. I really like this picture right here because it's showing that it may have looked like someone gathered a lot, but the spiritual mystery and magnitude of manna is the fact that even if you try, like even if you thought you gathered too much, it's literally enough for you. Even when you think that, oh, I didn't, only got a little bit, it wasn't too little. It was enough. It was just the right amount. Now, and it's like this, in my mind, it's picturing like, okay, I gathered this much thinking I had like a lot, but when I came to measuring, oh, was it just enough? It was enough. It was enough for everybody that needed it. When I thought maybe I didn't have enough, it was all that I needed. Like that's the picture of them gathering, and the fact that they want to put on there, the person that gathered if someone gathered much or little, it wasn't too much and it wasn't too little. Does that make sense? I hope I'm not, but it's just like it's the perfectness of just like, you think you think you don't have enough, but really you do. And that's how it looked to me when I was reading the fact that Yah in his divine wisdom and knowledge had Moses write it in this way where it was just like the person who thought they didn't have a lot, they maybe got too little. It wasn't too little. It was just enough. It was just as much as they needed. It was just as much. It was their portion. I think I brought down that part about
that makes me think, Samaria, of capacity.
Yeah.
Like where you are, that I mean, like whether you're a visual learner or a person by touch, or different things. So the person who went out, like maybe when they saw that it looked like it was a lot, they were like, okay, I'm content with that, and that's why it was perfect for them. And then where maybe somebody else might have spent longer time because it took them a little bit to gather, maybe it just different, but mentally capacity, it seems like that would have mirrored up right to just exactly what they would have needed, you know.
Yeah, and that's why for that portion right there, I put the Proverbs 30:8. Remove far from me vanity and lies. Because again, wanting so much like those we talked about earlier, like you need this backup plan, that's vanity. Like you're trusting in empty things. Like remove far from me vanity and lies. Give me neither poverty nor riches. Feed me with food convenient for me. That's like the whole scripture. I know I said I mentioned it earlier, but like here, this is the full. When I was reading Exodus 16:16, this was the verse that popped in my spirit, and I was just like, oh, this is what this was. Like, you don't have poverty, but you don't have riches. You have food convenient for you. You have the capacity that's for you. Your capacity may look like riches to somebody, or your capacity could look like poverty to somebody. Do with that what you will. But that's why he tells us don't be coveting. Why are you coveting? You have enough for you. But you still trying to get like this person and get what they have and try to look like this person. That's not your capacity. And someone could be looking down on you thinking that you are poor, but you're really rich. Take that how you will. Okay, verse 17. The Israelites did as they were told. Some gathered much, some little. And when they measured it by the honor, the one who gathered much did not have too much, and one who gathered little did not have too little. Everyone gathered just as much as they needed. Then Moses said to them, no one is to keep any of it until morning. Another commandment. He told them what to do. He told them what not to do. Torah is not this hard to understand thing. It's instruction. When Yah says, do this, don't do this. There's no back and forth, right? He's going to see, he's testing to prove whether you're going to abide in his instructions. Don't keep it until the morning. However, some of them paid no attention to Moses. But again, we just said, who are we? Moses answered, who are we? It's not you. It's not me that you're not paying attention to. You're not paying attention to Yahuwah. You're not paying attention to your Elohim. That's what's going on here. They paid no attention to the command. And so I want to break down this word. They paid no attention. So I have another translation that says, but they did not listen to Moses. Some people left part of it till the morning. So obviously, Yahuwah tells us to Shema Israel. Shema Israel, Yahuwah Eloheinu, Yahuwah Elohim, he is Akkad. So that whole song, that whole meditation is supposed to be, hear and do, O Israel, Yahuwah your Elohim is one. Yahuwah your Elohim, he is one. And so to Shema, right here is saying that they refuse to Shema. It's a low Shema, basically saying, no, I'm not gonna listen. That's what pay no attention. When it broke down in Hebrew, it was Shama, which means to obey, and it was lo, which means no. They're literally saying, I'm not going to obey. So when you say you're not going to do the commandments of life, you're saying, I'm not going to obey. That's all they paid no attention. Really, they're saying, I'm not going to obey, so I'm going to keep some of it till morning. That's what it's saying. The people decided to reject the instructions, yes, because it was due to lack of belief in the validity of Yah's word. Nothing has changed. We're still dealing with this today. People still lack the validity of Yah's instructions. People still lack the belief that his Torah, that his commandments, that his law is good. To the point where people say, no, it's not good. It's a burden and it's evil. It's literally the same thing that we're seeing here. No, I'm not going to obey. That's where it comes down to. You didn't want to listen. You didn't want to Shema because you did not believe his word. You thought his word was a false report. Back to the grumbling. Your grumbling was connected to you didn't actually believe what Yah said he was going to do and what he said his word is. They kept some parts till morning. It was full of maggots and it stank. Disobedience leads to nothing but deterioration. That's what Yah is illustrating for us. When you decide that you don't want to walk in his Torah and his instructions, in his blueprint of how to do and what not to do, you are agreeing to say, I want to deteriorate. I am going to receive maggots. Yeah, it looked good when it was sitting on your counter, but because you didn't want to listen, that surplus, that extra that you thought you had, is going to corrupt your house. It's going to, you brought something in, you decided to be disobedient, so now it's corrupting your house. It's going to cause your dwelling to stink because of your disobedience. It was full of maggots and it began to smell. So Moses was angry with them, of course, because he's like, all you had to do, I told you, literally from the beginning of 16, he's saying, he's like, I will rain down bread from heaven and people go out and gather enough for each day. In this way, I will test to see whether they will follow my instructions, my Torah. And so he's telling them, this is what you're going to do. I reassured you. I walked you through it. I told you every second, every time I could that I heard you. And I just asked you to do this one thing and you didn't do it. So now you got the whole camp stinking. The whole congregation is funky and there's maggots and there's infestation in places that should not be. There should be no maggots in your tent. That now you stepped into, again, because you disobeyed, it's deteriorating. And now you have uncleanliness in the camp. Because of your disobedience causes uncleanliness, it causes deterioration. This is why he said, this commandment is life. If you choose it, you have life. If you don't choose it, you have death. Choose this day who you're going to serve. If you choose me, you have life. You have prosperity. But if you refuse my instructions, you get deterioration, you get maggots, you get uncleanliness because you wanted to refuse what I said was clean, what I said was proper. You wanted to reject my instructions, and by default, you chose maggots and deterioration. Whatever that is in your life, if y'all said do this, but you decided to do something else, you're saying, I want the maggots. It didn't seem like you was choosing maggots in the moment. You're just like, oh, I got surplus, I got this, I got that. But y'all was like, but I asked you to do this. And it may not turn into maggots overnight like it did in this situation, but all vain things deteriorate. And if it's outside of Yah, it's vain.
It makes me think, Samaria, of like, I guess Cain and Abel. You know, it's that planted thought first, right? Of like, I want to do my own thing. I don't want to, you know, follow the rules or give the 100%. I want to half do, but just the whole mental of, I'm gonna come up with my own rules and do it my own way. But those of us like military, whatever, if y'all have ever stayed, you know, like total tent. First of all, maggots in your trash can work your nerve, right? But we do the speech and we tell everybody like, don't eat in the tent, don't bring no food in the tent because you zipping up everything. You talking about camel spiders, you talking about banana rats, you talking about just creatures of the desert and whatever else. And anybody, it could be 10, 15 people in the tent, and one person eating that tent can attract mess. And when you find the mess, you want to beat that person up because it's like everybody else is following the, like, why? Like, and go do that over there. Don't, because you said it, corruptible thinking messes up the house. So everybody in the house now is exposed to that, right? So on top of you just veered off and don't want to follow the rules, now you messing up stuff for everybody else because everybody got to clean and gut out stuff and whatever else. On top of, what if I was mad now? Because you over here doing the most. Like, so I'm thinking about like maggots everywhere or whatever else, because it says maggots, like particularly that, but maggots attract other stuff. That's fly, like, ugh, right? Like it brings all kind of other stuff in, and you invited that. So when we talk about that disobedience too, it's like, what agreement did you start? And that's what it is. You open the door to doing your own thing, your own thinking.
This is literally a picture of why unleavened bread was a community effort. Like, don't let it be found in your house. Don't let it be found in the community. Like, you're like, hey, like you said, Taryn, If one person in the tent is breaking the rules, all of us have to suffer. That's the picture that Yah was painting when they first came out. Like, okay, you don't have enough lamb. Okay, you go to your neighbor's house, y'all do Passover together. If y'all doing Passover in this house together, everybody's responsible for getting the leaven out of the house. Everyone's responsible for getting the unclean things out, the disobedience out of their house, out of their heart. Because if you don't, everybody's gonna feel the burden of that disobedience. And we're gonna keep seeing that picture play out over and over again. Like, specifically when they conquered the land and somebody decided to hide some gold under their tent, and y'all was like, someone has disobeyed. Pull out all the stops. Everybody stop. Bring everybody out. I'm about to pick. And everybody in the house knew what was going on, but no one was like, hey, you better put that back. Now everybody's in trouble because of you. So now the whole house is funky, the whole camp is funky, because we know it wasn't just one person that did it. Moses was angry because he probably woke up and he ain't had no mags in his tent, but he was just like, what's that smell? What is that? Again, Yahuwah said we're supposed to be a living sacrifice, a holy and pleasing sacrifice. It should be a sweet smell to him. Our sacrifices, the way we live, should be a sweet smell. When we disobey, we smell bad. We are literally sending up a defiled offering to him, and it is funky. It smells like waking up and be like, what is that?
That's what's tough about coming into truth too, and you're trying to share it with your household. Like, say your immediate family and everybody isn't there yet, and you trying to go about doing things and stuff that's just so foul and irritating to your ruach. Don't bother the rest of the household. And that's a tough place to be in. That is a tough place to be in.
Yeah, that's a good perspective too.
I definitely can attest to that. And also, I thought about when me and my husband first came into the truth, and he was still like on the fence about it, and just living however he wanted to. And he actually was walking home from the bus one day, and like a possessed man like was threatening his life. And he called me, and the man was like, I'm gonna kill you. Like, he was following him home. And one thing that the man said to him was, I can smell you. Like, I know where you are. I can smell you. And that always stuck with me. And I was like, what does he mean? Like, I can smell you? Because it was clearly like he was clearly possessed. But when you said that, like, you could, like, disobedience, like you have a stench, that was crazy to me. That brought me back to that case scenario.
Yeah, I've always said that the word smell in Hebrew is very similar to the word ruach or spirit. So disobedience has a smell. Demons have a smell. And for him to be like, I can smell you, like, you smell similar. Because the word smell and spirit are very similar. They both look like the word ruach. Even when you say it, it sounds the same almost. And so I've even heard people in psych wards talk about, like, people with schizophrenia have a certain smell to them. So I was just like, interested. Like, now that I know the thing about smelling and the word spirit, and it's just that, like, we keep saying these things are like, but like, we know everything is spiritual. So if you're saying that certain mental disorders have a smell, that is not by coincidence. That is by design.
Yeah, that makes sense. And ruach meaning breath. When you breathe, even when you're just breathing in your mouth, you can, like, so you smell and you can taste that, whatever is in that air that you're breathing in. So
yeah, which is why later on when we get into, like, I think in Numbers, if Yah has us go into Numbers, the way that we've been doing Genesis and Exodus, talks about the strange fire, which is why, like, how dare you come up here and give me something I told you not to give me? That's a strange fire. That's disgusting to me. And you put it on an altar to me? Oh, you gotta die. You gotta die. Because when you knew better, you was taught right, and you still decided to bring this funkiness to me and say, here I am. This is my offering. It's not like this is not an ignorant thing either. This is not a you didn't know. These were Aaron's sons who literally got the instruction this is after all of this, right? So you can understand why sending up strange fire is such a disrespectful thing to do when you know, but you choose to walk in rebellion. That's why he was like, I ain't got no patience for it. Don't even cry for them. It's about the smell. It's about the spirit behind what you're doing. And so, yeah, it began to stink. It stunk. And Moses woke up angry. Each morning, everyone gathered as much as they needed. And when the sun grew hot, it melted away. On the sixth day, they gathered twice as much, 2 almonds for each person. And the leaders of the community came and reported this to Moses. He said to them, this is what Yahuwah commanded. Tomorrow is the day of Shabbat rest, a holy Shabbat to Yahuwah. So bake what you will bake and boil what you will boil. Save whatever is left and keep it until morning. And so now the complete opposite of what has happened for the last 6 days is now happening today. He's saying, for the last 6 days, I told y'all to just gather what you needed, and if you keep it, it's gonna be funky. But now I'm telling you, gather twice as much today, and if you keep it, it won't go funky. At the end of the day, I just need you to trust Yah. If you would have trusted him when I said don't keep it till morning, you would have been fine. But now you have this weird trauma response and being like, well, the last time I gathered too much, it got funky and it had maggots and it had flies and it just started stinking. But you was disobedient though. It's like the reason you have that trauma response is because you didn't listen in the first place. You're scared to keep double today because when I told you not to keep double, it stunk. But again, at the end of the day, it all came back to, if you would have just listened to me and not kept too much, if you would have just not kept it till morning, there would be no stink, there would be no maggots, there would be no funk. So when I say this time you can keep double, all it was about, I'm trying to get you to trust me. For 6 days, I told you not to keep it, but this time I'm saying keep double. And now you're scared to keep double because you lived in disobedience for the last 6 days. And now you have this disfigured idea of who Yah is because you didn't surrender to just trusting him.
Yeah, but I think is when you went out to get the double, that was deliberately your own thing. Like you wasn't following the rules. So
Yeah.
and we see that with people all the time because their story, their narrative that they put out is that I was scared because XYZ had, but you didn't follow from the beginning. You didn't do right from the beginning. So step 4 wouldn't even had you did step 1 right. If you just went into mentally just follow what you were supposed to follow, no, it ain't my fault. I took too much, and then and then now I got mad. No, you subconsciously was doing your own thing, you deliberately, because the space that everybody was in is that they should have been synced up to gather just what they needed. So you had to deliberately get off track to say, well, I'm gonna get a little bit extra for, like you were already, you did that on your own. And then you go tell everybody, well, this is the reason why I did it. And I didn't know. And you creating this, you delusional, lying to yourself, and then trying to get somebody else to buy it.
The thing that I keep saying is the lack of true accountability.
There you go.
It's the accountability. It's like, okay, I understood you did that from a trauma response. However, take accountability to recognize that even though you did this out of trauma, because again, they got trauma. They came out of Egypt. They were slaves for over 200 something plus years, right? The first couple 100 years, they was living good. The pharaohs liked them. The Egyptians was just like, oh, these Joseph's people, treat them real good, right? A year, like 200 years later, now they'll become slaves. So they got over 200 plus years of slavery in Egypt, trauma in Egypt. And now y'all saying, I know you did this out of trauma, but I'm telling you, that's not an excuse anymore. You cannot use your trauma as an excuse to why you disobey me. Because I'm showing you that I'm showing you that I'm capable of loving, covering, hovering you, protecting you, comforting you, saving you. I've showed all that. And so for you to say, but because of this is why I don't, it gets tired and it's not an excuse anymore. And so he's saying, and this is just for us to be like, where in my life Have I used my trauma as to why I won't trust this good thing? Because at some point you have to realize, dang, I believe him, but clearly I don't trust him. And that means I need deeper healing. And this is not to condemn anybody, but so that we can truly do some reflection as to why can't I, if he says to do it like this, but because of my hurt and my pain, I say I can't do it like that. Instead of saying I can't, say, Father, why is it hard for me to trust you in this? In your heart posture is surrendered. It's like, okay, I'm now ready to receive a healing, a breaking down, an examination of things as to why I operate the way I operated, so I don't have to operate like that anymore. And so I hope that this helps us as we're on this call and people who may listen to playback, that we can't keep using our trauma as an excuse to why we don't believe Yah, because then we make our trauma our God. We make our trauma and our hurt and our pain our Elohim, and we give that thing dominion over us instead of allowing Yah. That's why Isaiah, I think it was David. He said, let not any iniquity have dominion over me. Your disobedience, your trauma, the abuse that happened to you, that's iniquity. Like, iniquity happened to you. You did iniquity, but now you're allowing that thing to be the thing that governs your life. Why David was crying out, don't let it have power over me. Don't let my iniquity, my sins, my hurt, my trauma, don't let that, Father, be the thing that keeps me away from you. That's why when you read that Psalm, like, I hope we read it again and we can see that that was David's cry. It was that, Father, I know I've been hurt. I know I've sinned. I know I've murdered. I know I've cheated. I know I've stolen. I know I've walked all kinds of outside of your covenant. Don't allow the trauma that happened to me when I was walking in disobedience and not knowing who I was. Don't allow that to stop me from putting you on the reins of my heart. And that's why Yahushua says some things only come out by prayer and fasting. And that's why the good news is, it's like this word is going to release and set the captives free. Thank you, sis. Isaiah 61:13. That is why Isaiah was already talking about what the good news was. This is the good news. This is the good news. He's saying, I'm going to heal that trauma response. I'm going to heal that hurt and that pain. This word is going to break every shackle off of you, but you have to abide in it. You have to Shabbat in it. You have to be covenanted, connected in it for it to have work in you. And that's what is going on here. This is the heart posture and the essence of Shabbat. Shabbat is not just a one-day thing. Yes, it is a set-apart day, but the preparation to get to Shabbat is the entire lesson of the Shabbat. Does that make sense? Like, they had to literally 6 days. You do it like this for 6 days, but on this day, you got double and you rest because you did it. You were walking in obedience for the 6 days. And when you walk in obedience on that 7th day, there's a rest, there's a completion of seeing all how you operated those 6 days, and you worked and you gathered and you worked and you gathered. And you didn't worry about the next day or the next day because you knew that you was going to get double on this 6th day to bring you over into the promise of the covenant, that a continual covenant reminder that I got you, you're good, you're provided for. Yes, Shabbat is a set apart day. It is the 7th day that you're supposed to keep holy. But the preparation into that holiness is the essence of Shabbat. Did you listen on this day? Did you listen on day 1? Did you gather for day 2? Did you gather for day 3? Did you worry on day 4? Oh, snap, I worried on day 4. Father, forgive me. I didn't worry on day 5. Okay, it's day 6. He told me gather double. Day 7, I'm good. I'm rested. Reflecting on how he kept me, how he got me day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, day 7. I'm celebrating. I'm in covenant with him. I'm reminded that I am sealed to Yahuwah, the Elohim of Yasharel. Sometimes we don't even think about how we're operating those 6 days, and on the 7th day we're just sitting there resting, like, ooh, still worrying about what's going to happen tomorrow because we didn't properly do day 1 through 6 already. Just like in this picture, day 1 through 6, gathering phone, gathering phone, gathering phone, gathering, not trusting, gathering, like you wasn't trusting all week. You was worrying all week. You had anxiety all week. Of course, you can't Shabbat on the 7th day. Of course, you can't quiet your mind and your anxiety on the one day he said, sit with me and just rejoice. Don't worry about how the bill's gonna get paid. You would already know how to do that because you were actively doing it for those first 6 days. And just like our ancestors, maybe day 1 and 2 you worried, but day 3 and 4 you didn't worry. You're like, oh, okay. Day 3 and 4 you didn't worry, you did it right. But day 5, oh, you slipped up again. But that's okay. You're still learning. That's what this is about. Sabbath comes, you are more than intentional with saying this day is set apart. I'm going to sit here. I'm going to honor. I'm binding myself to him in worship and covenant because he's kept me all week. Verse 20. Is it verse 20? Yeah. Oh, 20. No, 22. Okay, 24. Okay. He said, keep it. He said, so now you can keep it till morning. So they saved it until morning as Moses commanded, and it did not stink or get maggots in it. Eat it today, Moshe said, because today is a Shabbat to Yahuwah. It's not a Shabbat to yourself. It's not a Shabbat to your congregation, to your community. It's a Shabbat to Yahuwah. It's his Shabbat. You don't get to move it around and make it like yours. No, it's his. You're invited into covenant with him. It's his Shabbat. You will not find any of it on the ground today. So again, on top of it being his Shabbat, he's saying, okay, you gathered enough for today. And if you try to go out and find it, it's not going to be there. If you still decide to be disobedient and think, I'm going to go gather some because I still just can't stop my worrying, I still need to pre-plan for the next day. If you still ain't get it on this 7th day, you're not going to find it. It's not going to be found here today. So just like it stunk the last time, if you still try to be disobedient, it's going to look like, it's going to look barren this day because I told you you're not going to find it this day. Again, it all goes back to obedience, listening, doing it as he has instructed. When you try to do it outside of his instruction, it's going to look like emptiness. Nevertheless, some of the people went out on the 7th day to gather it, but they found none. Then Yahuwah said to Moses, how long will you refuse to keep my commandments and my instructions? How long? That's literally every prophetic alert. How long will you be backsliding? How long will you reside in Egypt? How long will you desecrate my Sabbath? How long will you refuse my instructions? How long? And we don't even have a timeline on how many times this happened. We just reading and thinking, oh, it's just 1 week. That's not enough time for people to get it. We don't know. They don't really tell us if this is a 1, 2, 3 weeks or 4. We don't know how long this happened for y'all to be like, how long? And I know he's a patient Elohim, so I know it wasn't just 7 days. So he's saying, how long will you refuse to keep my commands and my instructions? Now we have these two things where we're separating between commands and instructions. You know, a decree, a proclamation, a command, an instruction, Torah. Like all these things are literally how long you refuse to just listen to me. And so I put on here that, like, you know, this is what Yahuwah has said that is his Shabbat, and we know that from Genesis we did last week, that the seventh day of the Shabbat literally means to swear or to take an oath, to bind oneself, to worship, to promise. The Shabbat is covenant. And so when we're saying that we're keeping the Shabbat, he keeps saying that this is my sign, that you're mine and that I'm yours and you're mine. If you're mine, I'm going to take care of you. So if you can't keep the Shabbat, if you can't honor that, you're saying that you don't trust my promise for you. You don't trust this covenant. You can't even trust me. You can't even rest in me. What's going on? And so on the notes, you can see that after it says chapter 16, verse 28, it talks about, I put a whole bunch of verses down here. There's literally Yah's mouthpieces, prophets, wise men and women constantly basically saying in different ways, how long will you refuse to keep my instructions? It's a lot. I'm not gonna read them all. Y'all can go and read them all if you want, but it's right there. Verse 29. Bear in mind that Yahuwah has given you the Shabbat. That is why on the sixth day he gives you bread for 2 days. This is simple math. We was like, the math ain't math. This math is clearly mathing is perfect. He's like, okay, this is why on the sixth day you get double. So you can rest on the seventh day. You ain't gotta come out. You can just chill. It's good. You're provided for. You have enough. Okay. This is why he gave me enough for 2 days. Everyone, and now he's like, now we gotta put some parameters and constraints on y'all because I need my people to get this lesson. Everyone is to stay where they are on the seventh day. No one is to go out. So I want to say, these are parameters for teaching. This is not to say that you can't go outside on Shabbat. If anyone's telling you that, no. This is because he had to put some guardrails on. Imagine you're going bowling, right? You don't need the guardrails to bowl, but as you're learning, as you're immature, as you're a baby or a toddler, don't really know how to, roll the ball and get the momentum, you need the guardrail. So for this part here, they couldn't even listen to, you don't need to gather today. So since you don't know how to stay in the house, here's another command. Don't even come out the house today. You don't get to go across the street to your friend's tent and hang out with them in Shabbat because you've lost that privilege because you keep looking for food. You keep looking for provision today when I told you had enough. So how about everybody stay in the house? That's like growing up and, your parents are fed up. How about this? No one's going anywhere. And it's like, what? Oh, man, you had all these plans to do this and that and everything. But no, because y'all worked my nerve and you kept not listening this whole time. So now everybody's on lockdown because I need you to sit down and get it. Does that mean the house is locked up forever? You can't go nowhere for the rest of your life? Absolutely not. That's not what that means. But this weekend, no one's going anywhere. Cancel all your plans with your friends. It's not happening. Sit down. Contemplate. Sit in this rest. That's what's going on here. Again, toddlers, children. Once you understand and you operate in actually keeping the Shabbat in the heart posture of trusting him, okay, now go take a hike. Go gather with your coaties and your ops. Enjoy, rest, fellowship, do the things, but not right now because you're learning. So sometimes when we first get into keeping the Shabbat, we take these parameters and we put them on us. And some of us need that in the beginning, right? Because again, children, immature, learning how to keep Shabbat. Well, I don't really understand Shabbat right now, so I'm just going to not go nowhere. So maybe you do that for the first 6 months or the first year of you keeping Shabbat. And then y'all's like, I think you got it, girl. You got it. You got it, my child. You don't have to stay in the house. That's not a commandment that you have to stay in the house on Shabbat. But you needed to stay in the house because I needed to sit with you and dwell on you and marinate what Shabbat is. Not just a daily Shabbat on the seventh day, but how you operate in trusting me at all times. So that's the beauty of guard. So again, bowling, put the guardrails up, and then you even got the little slide thing that the babies push the bowling ball. You don't need that no more. No more bumpers, no more guardrail. Now I just got my bowling ball and I got it. But you don't start off that way. So you need some guardrails, some parameters, some things that's gonna keep you in line until that discipline becomes first nature. It's not normal at first. It feels like it's going against everything in your body to keep Shabbat, to trust Yah, and to lean on his understanding and not your own. It's literally, it's a friction. And so he's like, because there's so much friction, I'm going to put these restraints on you as you get comfortable with just resting, because you're so anxious. Okay, slow down, calm down. I don't know if you've ever dealt with someone who has anxiety attacks. Sometimes they say to hug them and to just like compress themselves against you to help them calm down. That's what this looks like in the beginning for a lot of us. It's not to overwhelm you. It's supposed to regulate. He's literally like, when to regulate your nervous system. Calm down. Sit down somewhere. Relax. Don't go anywhere today. Don't pick up that phone. Don't talk to your friend. Don't talk to your sister. Just be here with me. Breathe. Trust that I have you. And once that you get in that discipline and you start walking in it, and that habit builds and that habit forms, and your mind starts to be altered and to be transformed and being renewed in his word, just like when someone finally calms down, like, okay, I can let you go now. You good? You good. Okay, now go on about your business. That's what's going on here. He had to put a straitjacket on.
Wonderful thing.
Yes, it is. Verse 31. Wait, did I miss something? I wanted to break down the word abide. And I think it might be a different translation. Oh yeah, so in my King James Version, it says in 16, verse 29, see that Yahuwah has given you the Sabbath, therefore he has given you the 6th day, bread for 2 days. Abide ye every man in his place. So I want to break that down because on my NIV, it doesn't say abide. It just says to stay where you are. But that word is really abide. And so I broke down the word abide. So in Hebrew, the word abide is to dwell, to remain, to sit, to be established, to be inhabited, to marry. And I thought that was cool because we know that Shabbat is covenant. Covenant is a marriage. And so the word abide literally also means to marry, to be established, to be inhabited. When you marry, that person is inhabiting you and you are inhabiting them. You're dwelling together. You're remaining together. You are an established thing. So to abide in Yah, to abide in his commandments, his instructions, his Torah, is to be married to it, to be joined to it, to sit in it, to remain there. I thought it was interesting because, again, like we said, grumbling and abide, when you're just looking at the definitions, they both mean to dwell and to endure and to tarry. But abiding is a restful, trusting dwelling, while grumbling is full of lack of hope and you don't believe promise. Abiding is to believe the promise. And so Psalms 23 and 6. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell, that's that word abide, and I will abide in the house of Yahuwah forever. Psalms 27 and 4. One thing I have desired of Yahuwah, that I will seek after, that I may abide and dwell in the house of Yahuwah all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of Yahuwah and to inquire in his temple. And so all of abiding is literally just to dwell there, to be married to trust in. Okay, verse 31. The people of Israel called the bread manna. It was white like coriander seed and tasted like wafers made with honey. Moses said, this is what Yahuwah has commanded. Take an omer of manna and keep it for the generations to come. Now we're getting into generations, to seed, to legacy, and to continuation, okay? for generations to come, because you've learned this lesson of abiding, but now every generation is going to have to learn how to abide in me. This is not something that just gets passed on and it's inherited. It has to be taught. It has to be learned. So that they can see the bread I gave you to eat in the wilderness when I brought you out of Egypt. So Moses said to Aaron, take a jar and put an omer of manna in it. Then place it before Yahuwah to be kept for the generations to come. So I broke down that word, to be kept, and it means to preserve. So basically saying, we're going to put this manna in this jar and you're going to preserve it. But not just a preserving like, like to keep it good, but like to guard it, to keep it functional, to watch it, to give heed. So having this manna in the jar to preserve it is directly connected to like to keep his commandments, to observe all that he says. It's the same word. So when y'all saying, I put this manna in this jar so that you could keep it, so that you could guard it, so that you could remember to give heed to this lesson, to the function of my Shabbat. It's a service. It's obligation. This is not just to have a memorial sitting on your counter, like, oh yeah, I remember when we was walking in. No, that's not what that is for. That's not keeping it just to preserve it, It's to preserve it so that you can know, so that you can be reminded, so that you can give heed, and it could be a lesson for you again. So that word is used again in Genesis 26, that same word, to be kept, because Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. See, it's the same word. He kept the manna for the next generations, but it's the same keeping as keeping the commandments, the statutes, and the laws. They function the same. Again, 1 Kings chapter 2, verse 3, and keep the charge of Yahuwah thy Elohim, to walk in his ways and to keep his statutes and his commandments and his judgments and his testimonies, as it is written in the law of Moses, that you may prosper in all that you do, whither you go. Again, Malachi 3:14, ye have said it is vain. So this is a negative connotation, how y'all, like a prophet's talking to the people. You have said it's vain to serve God, and that there's no profit in it. And that there's no profit to keep his ordinances, and that we have walked mournfully before Yahuwah's ever will. So now y'all talking to people like, you don't believe that keeping my ways are profitable. You think it's pointless. And that's the same problem we have today, especially in religion. A lot of us come out of the concept of Christianity or Islam, but there's this idea that keeping God's laws, that's your commandments, is pointless now. This is not a new idea. This is just a rebellious idea. And so I'm gonna keep reading. So Yahuwah commanded Moses and Aaron, put the manna in the I think I skipped it. For the generations to come. Verse 34. Yeah, as Yahuwah commanded Moses, Aaron put the manna with the tablets of the covenant law, so that it may be preserved. The Israelites ate manna 40 years. Okay, remember I was asking y'all, how long did this go for? How long did this gathering and keep it happen for the whole 40 years? Goodness gracious. So now I can understand why Yahuwah was just like, how long will these people not listen? That's exactly why. Okay. They ate manna for 40 years until they came to the land that was settled. They ate manna until they reached the border of Canaan. So I want to go back up here where it says, and it says the testimony. So Yahuwah commanded Aaron to put the manna in tablets for the covenant law, that it might be preserved. I think my other translation says something about it being for it to be a testimony. And I broke down that word testimony. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, King James, it says, as Yahuwah commanded Moses. So Aaron laid it up before the testimony to be kept. And so I broke down the word testimony, which is witness. And we talked about this earlier before the call, before we started recording, about your life is supposed to be a testimony. Your life is a witness. Again, so breaking down the word testimony, it means to be a witness. It also means evidence. It's the evidence of the testimony. It's the law and it's revelation. So the root word of the word testimony actually means to return, to repeat, to go about, to do again. So when we say return to the covenant, That's testimony. When Yahushua was saying, repent for the kingdom is at hand, he was saying the testimony is to return to the precepts, to the law, to the revelation of what the word does, to restore. That's why the good news is that there's restoration, there's relief in returning to the covenant, the law. So this is the same word in Isaiah 8:20, where Isaiah is saying, to the law and to the testimony, if they don't speak according to this, there's no light in them. That's the same word, confirmation, a precept, usage as testimony and law. It's the same root word, which means to return, to repeat, to go about, to do again, to restore, to relieve. Again, Psalms 19:17. The law of Yahuwah is perfect, converting the soul. The testimony of Yahuwah is sure, making wise the simple. Jeremiah 44:23. Again, prophet speaking to the rebellious people. Because you have burned incense and because you have sinned against the Most High Yahuwah, you have not obeyed the voice of Yahuwah, nor you have not walked in his laws, you have not walked in his statutes, nor in his testimony. Therefore, this evil is happening to you as of this day. In Revelations, it says to keep the commandments of Elohim and the testimony of Yahushua the Messiah. So what is testimony? People say, the testimony of Christ. You don't know what testimony means. If testimony is not proving and revealing that the word, that the law, statutes, and commandments is good, that it revives, that it restores, that it is life, you have a false testimony. Because he's telling us what testimony is here, and it's always attached to law. It's always attached to instruction. John 8:17. It is also written in your law that the testimony of two men is true. So your testimony, our witness, a prophet being without honor in their own home. We talked about earlier, when you are walking in the testimony that keeping his laws and his commandments are good, it brought you out of darkness and death, that the word made flesh is living and breathing, that it can restore, that it can redeem. When you are walking in that and other people say they have a testimony of Christ, but it's not producing fruit of obedience, your life is a testimony, is a witness against them. Not purposely, but by design. To see that I walked in his ways. I walked in his laws and commandments. I can love you and still correct and love and plant seeds in love and patience and be effective and keep his commandments, and they're not a burden to me. I'm proof. I am a witness. I'm a testimony that I have joy in my life while also keeping the laws, statutes, commandments, and the testimony of Hamashiach, the witness of Yahushua's life. What was the witness of Yahushua's life? What was he witnessing? What did Yahushua say his testimony was? We've given him a whole, not we, but religion has given him a whole new testimony. When out of his own mouth, he says, I come to do my Father's will. I am one with him. My doctrine is not my own. My testimony is that I speak no words of myself. I speak from my Father. And his Father gives commandments and instruction. That's testimony. So in these notes tonight, I really wanted to really show, what does the word testimony mean? And if you break it down in the New Testament, it says the same thing. It means witness, right? The Greek doesn't really give a deep definition like the Hebrew words do, but it still said a testimony is a witness. The witness of Yahushua is that you can walk in the commandments of Yahuwah while you are in your fleshly body. You can do it. You can walk in his commandments and there's not a burden. You have authority and power when you're obedient. There's a higher calling and you can do it because this man represented everything that the Father has always been saying and deeper revelations. And Yahushua's saying you shall do greater works than these. His life is proof that there's nothing wrong with the Father's word. That's all I got for tonight. Next week, we're gonna get into more trusting things. But I just wanted this whole Bible study to focus on Shabbat. And I don't know if you guys were able to see it, but I did put in there some reflection questions for us to kind of just keep in mind, because it's just like, what's your reaction when you're spiritually hungry, or even when you're physically hungry? Like when your body is hungry, how do we react? Do we grumble? Do we manipulate outcomes? Do we turn back to Egypt in our hearts? The second reflective question is, how is Yahuwah testing your dependency on him right now? What does daily obedience look like for you in this season? Question 3, are you trying to hoard tomorrow's provision today? That's something that's really hard to unlearn. Are you trying to hoard tomorrow's provision today? A lot of these questions was really like shooting me up, boy. I was like, oh, my goodness. Because some of these questions I could be like, yeah, I have been trying to hoard. I have been hoarding tomorrow's provision today. In what areas is he asking you to trust him daily rather than anxiously store up? That right there, that's, talking to me right now. Are you honoring his rhythm of rest? Basically, are you obeying the commandment to rest on the seventh day? That's his rhythm. That's not some man-made construct. That's what Yah set in place. That's what he established. Are you preparing for and guarding the Shabbat provision in your week? Remember we talked about Shabbat? You're prepping for Shabbat all week. Last couple of questions. What kind of bread are you feeding your spirit each day? Are you eating from the bread of heaven or filling up on worldly substitutes? Being honest and transparent, I had to repent a lot this week because I just kept finding myself falling into feeding my spirit with things that did not profit. Just vain things, like things that I could care less about when I think about it. I'm just like, I need to be feeding my spirit up, because I felt myself falling into a grumbling, a murmuring. Not so bold enough to actually be like, oh, I don't believe you're going to do this for me. But in my heart, I was like, yeah, I'm worried. I had anxiousness. Anxiousness is a branch of grumbling. Anxiousness comes from murmuring. We're not intentionally trying to be grumblers or murmuring against the Most High, but anxiousness is literally attached to a lack of belief, to a lack of faith, to a lack of hope. We're not going to be like, I believe Yah, I trust him, I know that. But there's areas in my life that I clearly have anxiousness stored up because there's still something in me that does not have hope or belief that he's going to sustain me for this or for that. And recognizing that and humbly admitting that there are some areas in your life where you still have anxiousness or you have nervousness about something, taking it to Yah and being like, why do I feel this way? Is there a trauma response? Is there something that you're trying to heal in me right now? And a lot of times it's going to be, yeah. Most of yeah, there is something I need to heal in you because you're still not truly trusting in what I'm calling you to do. So I pray that these questions will help you in your reflecting process as you pray, to be to pinpoint areas where you're noticing those anxious things. But yeah, so just praying that we continue to just like get up early and gather that bread, gather that word. Are we, getting that word early in the morning, being content with the portion that we have today, that we rest, that our soul rests in what he sanctified, and that is his word, that is his bread, that is his commandments and instructions that teach us, because those come from him. That's from heaven. That's the bread of heaven. These whole law, statutes, and commandments is bread from heaven. And that we allow his presence to nourish us and to give us what we crave. A lot of times we crave junk food and we eat things that aren't good for us. It's the same thing in the spirit. We need to allow his presence, his word, to be the thing that nourishes us and feeds us, because when you eat junk food, you still feel empty, you still feel gross or sick, because there's no nourishment there. You were just feeding something, but again, it was vain, like junk food. Are you eating to be fueled up? Or are you just eating to satiate some kind of desire? There's a difference in how we eat. So with that, I'm gonna cut the camera and then we can like do further fellowship and we can close out in prayer.